What are you guys doing with competitive gaming and esports, and how do you think about that, and where's it going? Just give me a little overview at first, just to get us started.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a massive, it's a niche, but it's really, really big. And I think we recognize that as a CPG brand. We understand that leaning into this space when we did, because we're not necessarily new to it. We've been activating for about 3.5, 4 years. It's pretty green pasture. If you do it properly, you can really reach the hearts and minds of the fans. If you go through the right channels with the game makers and the players, it really has been a good run.
So when you got started, what were some of your objectives? What were you looking to try and accomplish?
Well, I think the number one,
besides selling product, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, yes, that's always at the end of the day what we want to do. But ultimately, I think what I was trying to do was prove to the Coca-Cola company that gaming had the power to be a difference maker for us in our marketing and communications. And that esports, I felt, was a great first foot into that, because it was still fairly new in North America and Europe at the time. And there weren't a lot of big brands taking a crack at it. And so it was a bet. And again, the goal was to show the company that this would deliver back value and would be good for our brand and for our business.
So what were the things that you did early on when you started getting involved in esports to sort of prove that case?
Well, the first thing that we did was, and again, this is heavily, you have to go back years. Back then, when I was in a room, everybody here obviously knows what esports is. Many of you are veterans, but back then when I would go speak and I said, can I see a raise of hands? Does anybody know what esports is? No hands would go up. This was like 4 years ago. I'm not kidding. Since then, there's been a lot of press and a lot of news, and so everybody kind of knows what it is. But again, getting into it early, we had to figure out our own blueprint. We had to figure out, how do we get into this space, do our brand justice, ensure that the volume of communication around our marketing was at a certain height and point, which is what we need as a business, but at the same time was meaningful and resonated and provided value to the community. That was key, and a lot of it was calculated risk, but ultimately we had to figure it out as we moved through it.
So as you think about it, what are some of the best practices you developed around it, whether it's social, working with influencers, working with fans, working with some of the competitive gamers?
Well, we take a multi-pronged approach, right? So we have our marketing, our frontline marketing communication, which is, the way we brand our sort of product into the space. Then we have the relationships that we make with the influencers, which is key. I always say gaming today, and I don't even think it's today, I think gaming over the last probably 10 years is inextricably linked with social media. I think social media is gaming in many ways. So you can't really lean into this space and get the value back as a brand or as a partner unless you're really able to hit it from a content standpoint, from an influencer standpoint, and from a social media standpoint. And from that, we've grown things like our @Coke Esports Twitter handle, which in 2014 was the fastest growing CPG handle in the world.
Nice, well done.
Yeah, and we couldn't have done it without the partners that we had, the amazing partners we had in gaming. Our gaming partners like Blizzard, who I know are here in the room, Riot, Supercell, these are all great partners to us. And without them and that partnership and the collaboration that we had, some of these things wouldn't have been possible. Same thing with our influencer community, which we've done a lot of work with, and building relationships, forging this over time with key influencers in gaming. Couldn't have done some of the things we've done on social media without their help and their partnership.
Was there a sense early on at Coca-Cola that esports is a little bit of the Wild West, and that there would be, there might run into issues of, things that might confer on the brand negative things? Like, how do you think about protecting the brand early on in this? They're gamers, right? I mean, it's not like you're talking about Miley Cyrus. I mean, I had a bad example, but you know what I mean.
I do, and I think that that risk is always inherent, especially when you start to face it with a brand as old and dear as ours, right? I mean, there is risk, but I think ultimately, we had to build some infrastructure and some tools that allowed us to be more comfortable with the vocal minority. Because sometimes when you're breaking into a new space as a brand, and I'm not gonna dance around this, especially as it relates to esports and the community that celebrates esports, they consider themselves part of a very, very sort of underground club. Community is very, very strong. They're very tied into social media, and if you make a misstep, they will let you know it. Trolls are ever present. We all know that. I'm not saying things that nobody in this room doesn't know, right? But as a marketeer, it's different, because the trolls and the vocal minority can make a really loud noise, and it's easy for big business to get scared and look at that and go, oh, look what's happening. We've invested our time and our resources. We thought we were doing everything right, and look at the feedback that we're getting from the community. But that's just the vocal minority. The majority, you have to look and measure what their feedback is. You have to remove the noise, and there's tools that we use to do that, to really understand what's the undercurrent. And I will also say in the end that we don't get a lot of trolling or toxicity, because we, over time, and that's the key, iterative development, being extremely organic, very humble and thoughtful about how we're approaching this space, have sort of helped, and listening to our consumers and the consumers of this medium, figured out ways to move through it to reduce that as much as possible. Because we are, at least on my team, we're all hardcore gamers. We're doing it to bring value to the community, to shed positive light on this community, to give them the legitimacy that we want it to have to build that business, and at the same time build our business and grow value in our brands.
Yeah, I'm struck by the recent meltdown of PewDiePie and prominent gamer. Is that a battle now you need to go back and fight at Coca-Cola because you have this prominent gamer who just basically self-destruction in ways that no brand wants to be a part of?
I don't think it's unique to PewDiePie. I mean, I think you see celebrities do this kind of thing too once in a while. I mean, it's a story that is to me, it's sad, but I think some of these folks grow up so quickly in the space. They're sometimes mismanaged or have no management. Right. The representation is sort of not there sometimes, and yet these are stars. Some of them who many of you, well, in this room, many of you probably have heard of them, but Poods is one example, but then another example is a guy named KSI out of the UK. Does anybody know who that guy is? Raise your hands. Yeah, I mean, see, you guys are way ahead of the game. This guy is a superstar. I mean, his e-score is on par with some of the biggest celebrities in the world, and these folks need support. They need guidance. They need to have somebody looking after their career so they can help, avoid issues like that.
Let's shift gears and talk a little bit about League of Legends. You did a lot of stuff with League of Legends. You've been a big part of that. You did a lot of activation with them. I think you've got a video to show on that. We want to take a look at that and talk a little bit about what you did?
Yeah, let's take a quick look. And
what you learned? Yeah, let's show that video.
I'm here with Esports Weekly with Coca-Cola.
We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of the world that we defy. A solar ray of the few who rise up high. And we all fight at the last.
Summoner teleport. Oh no! The double, the stun, the triple. They go for it. Holy cow! They're all gone. There's no stopping him now.
Nice spot. What were some of your goals when you got involved with Riot with League, and what did you want to accomplish at first?
Well, we just wanted to be attached to the space. We knew it was hot, and I had had a previous relationships with the guys at Riot, and it just made a lot of sense for our brand. At the time, they had something called the League of Legends Challenger Series, which is the amateur league that eventually, if you matriculated up, you became pro. And we had Coke Zero at the time, which was all about the pursuit of possibilities, and so it was a natural fit. We entered in through that, and things grew and took off from there.
When you look at the success that you had, what are some of the things and maybe the lessons you learned about how to do it in an organic way versus trying to beat people over the head with it? Although there were some Coke sticks there.
Yeah, you know, it's really pretty simple at the end of the day. We came in humble, we took our time, and we iterated and we learned, and we didn't hold ourselves to any one through line that we had to stick with. My job at the company was to block and tackle and give us the time we needed to get this right, and take it slow, and we did. And I think at this point we've you know, we're in a good position.
So you got a bunch of marketers here, people who work for brands who maybe think of getting in the space already are. What would you tell them about how to think about getting started, how to think about go deeper, and the areas that really worked, and maybe some of the things that you did that maybe didn't work that you said, don't do that. I tried it, it didn't work.
Yep. I think that the key with it all is understanding what your marketing goals are. You know, as a marketeer, and I don't know how many actually marketeers there are in the audience, but you know, you have to know your marketing strategy. You have to know what your business goals are, and you have to make sure that you're laddering up against that. And when you understand that clearly, esports, if it's right to achieve your goals, will become clear about how you activate when you head into it. I wouldn't do it because it's trendy or because it's on the front page of newspapers or everybody's buzzing about it. I mean, it is all those things, and it is a powerful, powerful platform, but only if it's right for your business goals.
So there are a bunch of places where you can get involved. You get involved at the tournament level, you can get involved at the amateur level, at the college level, at the high school level, at the team level, at the individual player level. Do any of those make more or less sense for a brand like yours?
Well, yeah, and the reason is because, again, we have to know what we're all about from a goal standpoint. You know, every one of our brands has its own personality. Coca-Cola, which is what we like to activate in this space, is all about togetherness and all about celebration. And because it's about those things, we tend to be or want to be in the stands with the fans. We're not a performance-based brand. If we were, we'd want to be on the pitch or up on the stage and around the teams, right? So, yes.
Yep. So knowing what your brand's goals are drives you to the individual places that you can best take advantage of and hit those goals.
Yes.
Very interesting. So let's move on and talk a little bit about FIFA. You did a bunch of work with FIFA, and it was very influencer driven, which is a little bit different. So talk about how that was different maybe a little bit, and then maybe we can take a look at the FIFA video.
Sure. I mean, you know, every 4 years we do a massive integrated marketing communications push for around FIFA World Cup. It's part of our DNA. And so what better way to help to future-proof that and help make it relevant to teens and millennials than to pull in a video game. And so Electronic Arts, another one of our partners, makes a video game called FIFA, most played sports game in the world, 150 million active players or something like that. And we started doing a tournament around that called Coca-Cola, because we have an asset in-house called Coca-Cola, and we turned that into a collegiate sort of recruitment tool, and that led into a finals out at Microsoft store in Times Square in New York, where we had the finals. And if they want to play that clip, you guys will see. And influencers were a big part of that.
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Welcome, everyone, to the first ever Coca-Cola. I'm your favorite former U.S. men's national team player, Jimmy Conrad, and I'm being joined by the man, the myth, the mustache, Castro 1021.
How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so happy to be here. We're just overall excited to be here in New York City to watch 4 competitors battle it out to be named champion of this event and the title of best college gamer in the nation.
Ouch. Oh my God, he's
Arthur on the.
He's in.
There, what a
That's
touch!
bullshit. That's
What
bullshit.
a touch!
No way.
Penalty!
That's.
Oh, you got it. Still got it. Play back in. Ooh! Get it! Against the run of play. It was against the run of play.
What just
Wow.
happened?
Arthur.
He's drinking the. I'm drinking it with him. I'm drinking it with him. What just happened?
That's what it's all about. A guy who needs refreshment, drinking our product organically. That's what it's all about for us. That's what we're going for, right?
That's awesome.
We love moving the needle on the games business and making our partners, giving them, a fresh look or a big stage, but that's what it's all about for us.
So I want to open it up to questions. We probably have a couple minutes left for questions. There's a question right up here in the front. If we can get the mic over there. Who's got the mic? You know what?
I'm going to speak up.
Why don't you just speak up?
Hey, thanks first for coming on. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So it looks like you had to make a hard decision. You mentioned something earlier about looking at community and social, you kind of said a matter of fact, I think gaming really was the originator of community and social. So for the Coke brand, when you think of the millions of fans who are in your classic Coke social platforms, when was the decision made that you said, let's start our own new social channel? It couldn't have been that obvious right out of the beginning.
You mean when you're talking about like our Twitter platform and why we did that? Yeah, that's a great question.
So the question, just to recap for people who aren't who are on the live stream, was basically when for community and social for Coke. When did you start that? When did you start thinking about creating?
Make the choice to make the.
How do you make the choice to make your own social channel? Thanks. Sorry, I'm trying.
I think it's a really great question. It's extremely nuanced. We don't have enough time to get into all the detail, but remember at the time I was head of global gaming at the company, and I was desperately trying to show the company that gaming had the power to move the needle for us. And what better, and I had to create a comparison that was an apples to apples comparison. So leading into social media and Twitter at the time gave me that. We had lots of Twitter handles in the company that were very, very active. If I could illustrate that gaming had the power to drive social media, and I chose a social platform that we were activating with elsewhere in the company, and I created a new handle, it did several things for me. It allowed a direct measurement, apples to apples measurement of 0 to X many in this period of time to show social engagement, thanks to the gaming community. And it also gave something back to the community. The community knew that we were taking them seriously when we would dedicate Coke Esports to them and then run all of our communication in gaming for them through that channel. And it did other things too. But I remember the day in my office when I was deciding what social platform to use, and that was really tough. In the end, I think we made the right call, but now we're building we're fortifying that, but it's a great question, and it was a big moment because there was a lot of risk associated with it at the time. Now it looks like a no-brainer, but hindsight, is 2020.
So we have time for one more question if anybody has a question. Otherwise, I am going to ask. I don't see anybody. Oh wait, I have a question right there in the middle because the lights are shining in my eyes. I can barely see you. Go ahead.
Oh, so quick question. Clearly, amazing efforts as when you're in a brand, the thing is about engagement, right? Like everyone wants to do engagement, but that's like can be everything and nothing at the same time. Was there at any point in time a conversion, like a purchase conversion KPI for this effort?
We constantly measure things like that. We typically do that through our customer channel because it's a way for us to clearly see the results of that. And we're always looking at various kinds of conversion, whether it be through social media conversion or actual lift in sales and all that. I mean, we focus on that heavily. We have to. It's a business.
So real quickly, what's the future look like?
Well,
for you, for Coca-Cola, not
real quick.
like the whole future. The world will explode in 20 years. I can tell you that.
I can tell you, we're really happy with our position in the space. We're going to do more with partners, and more with partners like that we've got now. So I see Todd from High Res, so the High Reses of the world. I know Jay-Z and his team are here from Blizzard, and we love those guys. And so the Overwatches of the world, and Riot, yes, EA, yes. We're the only brand ever work with Supercell, which makes a mobile game called Clash Royale, and so we're working with them on weekly tournaments, and we'll see where that goes. We also have great relationships with the cinema business, our customer channel business, and so all these things, not to mention social media and all of the key influencers that we work with, sort of come together and coalesce around our position in the space, which makes it, defensible. We're there for a reason. We're always providing value. I think the future is really bright. I'm very, very happy with what I see in terms of how the game industry is maturing. Remember, it's not that old, and the way that esports is sort of here to, it looks like, stay this time and mature, and I think the future's really bright, both with live streaming, broadcast, esports, gaming, influencers, social media, and of course the brands that face that, along with our awesome gaming partners.
Well, that's
and
awesome.
The community.
And the
By the way,
community.
the community, it's all about the fans and the communities and the players. They're really the ones that are the heroes here.
All right, excellent. Matt Wolf,
All right.
thank you very much.
Thank you.